Recording is on.
Let's go. Okay, we are here ready to rock and roll. It is the 19th of June, 2025, and we're here with the Dana Wallet team as well as Yash Raj, who is a UX designer on the team. We're going to be using AI. This is going to be a hands-on learning session where we're going to be using AI to process the research, the usability tests that Dana Wallet conducted at the Oslo Freedom Forum. Yashraj, would you maybe like to give an introduction about the purpose of usability testing? Because you were the one who actually put the research plan together. Um,
Yeah, I mean, uh, when we come up with an idea for a product and then we try to build it into the product, like we have to we start with assumptions about our users, their requirements, and then we use those assumptions to build the product. So that's one, and also assuming even if we get all of that right, um, the product has sort of been built from the perspective of the team, and we don't really know how the users are going to react to that, how the users perceive that, if the users are going to relate to that, if they are going to feel that their problems are being solved, that the needs are being met by the product. And that's why testing the application and talking to users is absolutely essential. And in the context of Dana Wallet, we we came up with user personas based on our perceptions, and we built uh, a few a few user flows based on those. And Oslo was an excellent opportunity for the team to do user testing because these are the kind of people that the application is being built for.
yes.
And uh, and more thanks to you, we like got the usability testing script, and we were able to talk to a lot of users. And of course, now the challenge is for us to be able to process all of that input and try to make sense of it and validate the assumptions and improve the UX, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. And with AI, it's going to be super quick for us to
Hmm.
process this.
Yeah.
Sistine and Signet, how was the whole testing process for you as developers?
Yeah, for me, I remember at the very start, I was very nervous, or I didn't really know. Yeah, it was just a lot to keep track of because you had to follow a certain script, and you also had to observe what the person was doing.
Hmm.
So yeah, at the start, it was kind of overwhelming, but I think we got used to it pretty quickly, and yeah, eventually they became quite easy. So yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And how about you, Sistine?
Thanks to all the work that you put first to prepare us and gave us a script, and it goes pretty smooth, I think.
Hmm.
And that's the main thing is that it's really, as a developer, that's kind of that's interesting. That's kind of puzzling by moment because you have like those assumptions, especially when you're a developer, and then you just smash your assumptions against like the end users, which is basically most of the time not really what you expected.
Yeah,
I think that was necessary. It made us question a lot of things actually in what we have already done, what we were planning to do, and we already. So we need to discuss about that. It's a lot of things to unpack.
yeah, there's a lot of things. We're gonna literally unpack it and we're gonna learn as we go along because what I've noticed with processing data using AI is that it's a step-by-step process. So the first step that I have already done is I think you recall the folder that we had with all of the usability tests. We had like, to give the people some background who are listening, we created a new, you know, how could you say, form for every single person who they did conducted usability tests on. And the form, let me just show a blank version of the form here, just so that the people can have some context. I'll share screen here. So, and this is AI meeting UX research. So, you know, if you're watching this 5 years from now, we were already interested in, in this 5 years ago. So here we go. Is that visible?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is a blank script. So the developers used this usability test script, which the section in blue is what they would call out, would speak while sitting with a person they would be testing with. The goals of the usability test was to basically onboard themselves to the wallet, set up the wallet, and set themselves up to receive Bitcoin and set themselves up to send Bitcoin. But of course, you have to receive first. This was a usability test that was focused on freedom fighters, so activists or human rights defenders, who was the main target audience at the House of Freedom Forum. We asked them these questions here, and then they would fill in, the developer would fill in this information underneath these sections here. Um, and then as they went through the onboarding, they would ask them what their first impressions are, ask them what the main strengths are. Then they would go to the home page, the same thing, go to the receive flow, the same thing, then go to send. And then in the end, possibly take any notes or observations that they had. So I believe you guys did, let me just have a look how many tests you did. Because I dragged them in here, but I'm not going to share my screen here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 tests were done in total. Now, here's what I did, and this is called preparing the data for AI. So before we actually start communicating with the data and getting the insights from it, we have to put it all in one long file. It's just easier for AI to process. So what I did was I just copied everything, and as you can see, for privacy reasons, um, I actually removed the first 4 questions where we asked, "What is your name? Are you a Freedom Fellow?" The reason that I did this is because I'm going to be processing this using a public, or could you say an AI model, which is Claude.ai. And since we don't know where the data goes, I'm choosing to be as private and privacy sensitive as possible. If you run a local AI model on your computer, which I also have, you can also just leave that information in because that will not then touch the internet. So if you're a Bitcoin researcher or a developer, I would highly suggest running a local AI model, and then you wouldn't need to clean the data. In this case, I'm going to use Claude just because Claude has a better way of extracting insights. Um, so you can see here, I just put test 1 and I removed all of the private information. Then I put test 2, I removed all private information. And so we have just one long document here with um, every single test that we did. And now the fun begins. So now we're going to see what AI is able to deduce. So I'm just going to open up a new chat and I'm going to share this chat instead. So, okay. So basically now we're starting from nothing and we're going to see um, what AI is able to deduce. So first, I'm going to give it some context. I'm going to say you are a UX researcher. I keep it very simple. Who is analyzing usability tests of a Bitcoin wallet, the purpose of the usability tests were to um, understand the overall impressions and friction points in the current experience. And please excuse me, I'm dyslexic, so there's going to be lots of spelling errors here. Okay. Um, I will provide you with, we said 15 usability test results. And this is a very important part. I want you to use all 15 tests in the analysis. Okay? From the analysis, I would like you to break down the analysis into the one onboarding flow, two send flow, three, um, and I believe you tested contacts as well, but not all of them. I would like to have the main friction points for each part of the user flow. I would like you to provide a direct quote, if possible, to support the finding. So this is me just creating a prompt on the fly. Um, and now it's going to go into it. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the entire script here. I'm literally copying and pasting all 15 tests. And I'm going to click paste and let's see what happens. Sometimes it's hit and miss. So let's just see if it's able to. Okay, this is interesting. So I like it that it's pulling. See, it's pulling direct quotes. QR problems. Okay, send flow. So that's nice. It's breaking it up into the send flow. It's breaking up into the contacts flow. It's just beautiful watching this think so fast, 100 times faster than all of us. Okay, let's see. So let's look at the key takeaways here. So how has this been for you guys? I mean, you've seen I've basically prompted it. I think I kept it fairly simple in the prompt. The most important thing is I've asked it to use all 15 tests, which is very important. It comes back with, let's see here. Is my screen visible here? Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
No
So it comes
problem.
back with these key takeaways. The biggest issue is confusion around address reuse messaging, which contradicts what experienced Bitcoin users have learned about best practices. The biggest issue is confusion around address reuse messaging. What does that mean for you when I say this address reuse messaging? What is it referring to?
Yeah. Can we scroll up? Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. With regular Bitcoin addresses, we are taught as Bitcoiners to not do address reuse. And the
Right.
way we achieve that is that every time the user has to receive Bitcoin, we tell them, hey, open up the app, click on receive, it will generate a new address, copy paste that address,
Yeah.
right? And so this is basically the training that Bitcoiners have received, that hey, addresses cannot be reused. Now with silent payments, during the onboarding, we like had a page during the onboarding itself that said, "Hey, these new silent payment addresses they can be reused," and
Right.
it looks like the usability testing is saying, "Hey, there are experienced Bitcoin users who are trained on this older train of thought, and they are getting confused by this because we tell them, hey, you can reuse this address, whereas the training is that you should not reuse addresses."
Right. Developers, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I thought it was. I was a little surprised actually. I didn't. I can kind of understand that it's. Um, yeah, it's unusual for people, but I
Yeah.
didn't recognize it. That so many people were confused by it. I think we got like a general feedback point. I don't know if it's not specific to the onboarding flow, but I think there was like some general feedback that people wanted to have like ways to learn more, basically. So I think this is a
Mm,
very good example of like why would
Yeah,
this be safe? Then you could click on some kind of like question mark or something.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so something like
right.
that. Like
Yeah,
I think
I think
would be.
this is also an interesting. This is also like an interesting conflict of like two visions. There are two visions in like UX communication inside applications. One of
Mm-hmm.
them says, "Hey, like you know, like explain things to users and things like that," and the other one is users are not interested. You don't have to explain anything. Trying to explain things makes things complicated,
Right.
and so on and so forth. And then it's like, yeah, so which one do we choose, or how do we balance that? And I think that is an interesting challenge for us to achieve, especially with Dana Wallet, which will have a lot of new things like reusable addresses, contacts for on-chain, sorry, contracts for on-chain transactions and things like that. These are things that users don't seem are not used to. We know that, and so then here this is like an interesting case where some people might have been confused if there was an elaborate explanation, but it also looks like some people are confused that there is no explanation and that they would like to know more. So just a thing to learn more can be like a good balance probably.
Yes. And look here, it separated it because it's put three of the issues had to do with the address reuse. Two of them had to do with terminology issues. Two of them had to do with navigation, and one had to do with missing backup warnings. So, literally what you could do is Yashraj, being the UX
Yeah.
designer on the team, you can just,
Uh-huh.
I will copy and paste this into a document, and
Yeah.
then you can basically just copy this text and put it in the Figma file directly under the onboarding screens. And
Yeah.
together, you guys can start to think about, how to solve this from a design angle. And of course, I think not
Mhm.
everything might be able to be solvable from the design angle. But I mean, here, a back button, they're asking for a back button on the onboarding section. Um, Missing backup warnings. No warning backing up the wallet. It should nudge you or even block you if you don't back up. This is an interesting one. That's an expectation from users that they should be able to
Mm.
back up their wallet.
Yeah, this is
I,
interesting.
sorry, I just would like to add some things about that onboarding. I think that the way AI summarize it is correct, since it worked on what it had, like all the transcripts.
Hmm.
But I think it's kind of the way it put it. It's maybe a bit not simplistic. That's not what I mean. But according too much attention to little detail,
Mm-mm.
and that actually stands for something which is bigger, because I think that something was very, very clear on the all the tests. There is a divide between like the Bitcoin people,
Mm.
experienced, Bitcoin people and the newcomers. And for example, the issue with, hey, wait, I can reuse address. No, that's totally understandable from an OG Bitcoiner point of view. But newcomers weren't like bothered by that.
Such a
So
good point. Such a good
yeah,
point.
yeah. So that's one thing. Like the backup thing, I forgot who it was, but it was definitely Bitcoin OG that thought like that. Newcomers weren't that much concerned about, hey, wait, I should be nudged, I should be forced to back up.
Right.
That's something that is kind of hard, I think, for the AI to parse. But actually,
Yes.
we had like two types of users that were like really different, and
Yes.
yeah.
This is such a good point that you make. Please, please continue.
No, and I just wanted to finish with because I have my own notes. That when I read the transcript, we made some notes with Signet, and I feel that about the onboarding. Actually, it was more about even if people weren't maybe saying directly, but there was maybe a lack of focus. Don't know to the right way to put it. Yashirash told, okay, there is a balance between contradiction between informing users and not overwhelming users with information. That's one way to say that maybe we weren't putting the focus on the right things in the outbounding. For example, the address reuse part that actually might not be that important because if you're an OG Bitcoiner, that will confuse you because of the use of the address word, which is kind of um, overcharged. I don't know to say the right word for that in English, but and if you're a newcomer, then you don't really care about addresses. What you care about is that okay, I can have contacts, I can have
Right.
accounts, I can have like other concepts that are actually clearer. So I will stop there. I don't want to go too far, and we have much to say. So one step at a time. But I just wanted to, for the onboarding part, just to add that, and then we can move on.
So I think this is for you as developers now. This is a very interesting point that you both touched on because you mentioned the two types of people that you tested, a more OG and a more, newer user, that's someone new. For you now that you have this information and this data, it's a decision for you as founders, as developers of this wallet to decide which of these groups do we really want to serve? Because if you decide to serve the one group, then you can basically put the comments from the other group to the side and not prioritize those. Do you maybe have an answer to that question? Do you want to serve a more OG type of person, or do you want to serve someone who's more like a newcomer who just wants a privacy focused wallet? Um,
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is funny because I think when uh, when the three of us talked last week, I think we talked about the exact same thing that we have these two very different types of users. They are very different in almost every aspect other than the fact that they want donations and things like that. And
mhm.
so even though their goal is the same, they are very different type of user. And so it it can, maybe it is possible to have an experience that's equally suitable for both, but at the same time the easier path might be that, hey, like, you just choose one of these two user types, and you just try to build for that. I think this is something that is interesting, that it is also coming up during our UX research conversation, but that was something that we talked about in the last one. Also, I want to quickly touch on Sustin's point. I think I was thinking the exact same thing right around the time that he was saying it. Is that this reusable address page during onboarding? That is, I think, like an excellent example of um, me as a designer and us as like builders of the product being unable to think from the user point of view. So just like Sostin explained, it makes total sense that, hey, why would you even talk about it? Now, for us, that is the coolest thing because that enables contacts and this and that and and all of that. So it is something that's super important to us, but it might not be something important or for the user. It might actually be confusing for the user, or the user
Mm,
doesn't even care about that. So in either
mm,
case, maybe there is no need to talk about that. Like that is like an implementation detail almost, right? But I was not
mm.
able to put myself in the mind of the user, and so it's like, yeah. So yeah.
Yashraj, maybe could you bring up the Figma file so we could actually see the screens that we're talking about? No rush. I mean, I'll continue, but it'd be
Yeah,
nice to have these screens as references while we're
yeah,
going through
of course.
the research.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um, st
maybe Signet, is it possible for you to launch the app on your laptop in Android Studio, and that would we can go through it? I'm just asking.
Maybe I can try it quickly.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I'll
no,
try to
no
because
rush. Otherwise, the Figma
I'll
is
have.
also good.
Yeah, no, no. Like the problem is that I have trouble sharing my screen. For some reason, I'm never able to share my screen in Jitsi. I have no
Mm,
idea why that is. So I'm also gonna try it, and yeah. So let's see.
mhm.
Done a wallet. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
If you can't share your screen, I think I might be able to. Yes, Siraj.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Yeah, that'll be
But
awesome. I'm
if
gonna
you
try
want to
first.
try first. Hmm.
Yes, yes. I'll try. I'll try first. Share screen.
How do you feel as developers? It's quite clear that when you tested it on these two groups, it's clear that the one is expecting you to save your backup phrase, which is quite a regular process in a Bitcoin wallet, whereas a newbie user would have no idea that they would need to actually do that as a process. So, how does that feel for you, moving forward for your vision for the wallet? Do you want to maybe you want to keep it for the new user, where then you reveal very little information, you don't mention anything about reusable addresses, or, go the other route for the more advanced user, or make a clear split in the onboarding flow.
Yeah, I think this is something that we've been kind of thinking about ever since we left Oslo. This is kind of the main question that at least I left with, which is like,
Mm,
who is the actual, like, who is the real target audience? And on the one hand, or I always had this idea that we're building this for like people that never used or have absolutely no experience with Bitcoin,
yeah,
or like activists, but that's also kind of a difficult. It's a very it's a very difficult group to target. There's a reason why it's so you know it's much farther away. Like the OGs, since we're both developers, um, OGs are much more similar to us. Where those are kind of the people that we are the most alike. So that would be a lot easier as a group to target.
yeah,
But at the same time, I do really like a lot of the feedback points that we got from almost everyone. The thing that most people seem to uh, think is the most positive thing about the app is just its simplicity, or the
yeah,
fact that it's like very clear. So I still would like to definitely keep that.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't know if that means that we're um, necessarily means that we have to go for the activist, or maybe we can make like an OG app that is still very simplistic. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't have like an answer for that, but that's what I'm currently thinking.
yeah.
Um, yeah, Mo, can you repeat the question again? Because as soon as I remember as soon as you asked the question to them, I felt like I wanted to say something, but then I forgot by the time Signet answered.
Oh, what was the question? Yeah, how do you feel about the split in
The backup.
direction in terms of the two different user groups? moving forward in the whole design and development process, do you think that you would like to more target more someone who is an activist who has no prior experience with Bitcoin wallets,
Yeah.
or target someone who's more like an
Mhm.
OG, or the third option is to split and target
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
groups?
Also I remembered, I think your question was around backups. Like, hey, like this backup thing was mentioned in it, and the backup, and that's like something regular. I think about the backups, I'm not worried about that piece of feedback because um, it's not in the app yet, but the intention is that we will prompt the user to back up, and Signet has implemented a backup file feature, and he already
Right,
has that feature. Uh, the idea is that in line with what the Bitcoin design guide says, like the recommendation is don't pester users about their backup when they are doing the onboarding, because
right,
that just adds steps and it discourages them. And so
right.
the idea is once the app detects that the user has now received some funds, that is when we will prompt them about doing the backup, because now they have funds, they have like an active incentive to do the backup. But
Right.
when they don't have anything during onboarding and the wallet is empty and they're just trying out the app, it would just add to the effort that they have to go through to use the app. So that's the reason for that one.
Yeah, and
That
this
does, yeah, go
it's
on.
clear here with the reusable address screen now. I see it so clear in the onboarding flow. Um, and that's why there was many people then.
Yeah.
So as a Bitcoiner who's an OG would have said like, okay, why are we using the address again? And then for someone who is maybe new, they wouldn't have any prior knowledge about address reuse, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And coming to your point about which type of user we want to target, ideally we would want to target everyone, right? I mean, especially the activists, because we feel like um, it is a bigger challenge. Like there is a reason that activists don't have like a default code to application, and the reason is that they are like a challenging audience, right? Because they have
Yeah.
so many constraints, right? They have like real world risks. That is very different from the way it would be for like regular users. So definitely that is something that I feel like all of us are personally highly interested in doing. But at the same time, from a product building perspective, it might make sense to target the easier, in quotation marks, easier user persona first, and then see how we can generalize to everyone.
Mm, mm. So, Steen and Signet, how do you feel about that? What Yashra just saying?
Yeah, I think definitely there's in an ideal world, obviously you would basically target everyone. You wouldn't need
Yeah.
to make these sort of trade-offs. But I think indeed it is. Right now, I'm also kind of uh, edging or going towards this, um, yeah, this idea that we're probably gonna need to focus first on the more OG type, since those are just a little easier to target. They're a little more willing, I think, also to download kind of this newer wallet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then once once you kind of have established yourself in that space, then you can try to go for the more uh, like general the newbies, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, and if I remember well, that's what we discussed indeed last week. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's that big of a contradiction in what we are doing because that's what we are doing. We have like specific use case, which is
Mm-hmm.
based on donation and recurring payments, on payments
Mm-hmm.
from like from people that you don't know, since you can share your address on the internet and it's kind of passive, non-interactive. So everyone needs that, and we got like feedbacks from either newcomers and OGs that were like, "Oh, I really need something like that." So that's a kind of a use case that's I think covers the two types of users. So indeed, in the details, you have some details where you need to choose. Okay, this will be more for like experienced users and not really suitable for newcomers and vice versa. But um, what I mean is that I don't think that we really need to choose. Like it's not hard, It's not like okay, we need to totally uh, forget about one type newcomers if we go after OGs or the
Right,
reverse. Maybe
right.
we will lean. Maybe we will lean, as Signet is saying, we lean more toward OG Bitcoiners at first because that's kind of easier, and then try to adjust things, steering things back to be more appealing to newcomers. But I don't feel like that's really like a big problem.
Right.
I mean, the real problem is to identify that and to keep that in mind. But I don't think that we really need to choose and got stuck with that. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think in the last call sorry, in the last call and after the last call, we kind of discussed few things that I think I know where Sostin is coming from. So, Sostin, I can see your screen. So if you want to stop sharing or something. Uh, Anywho, yeah, that didn't happen. Yeah, I think like one of the ideas, like I don't want to talk too much about what we discussed because we haven't really done anything about it yet. But like I think the idea boils down to if we distill further what the product and the use case we are targeting is, maybe it is possible to target both type of users at the same
Yes.
time without compromising. And I think like this is the kind of like experience you go through and you actually talk to users and like things like that, like it changes things and it it allows you to think in a different way. So I'm super excited about that, but I think we
Yes.
should get on with discussing the rest of it because
Yes.
we
Yes.
don't
Let's
have
get
a
on
lot
with
of time.
discussing the rest of it. But you both make good valid points in that maybe it's not so you can approach it from two ways. You can approach it from a use case perspective, saying, hey, if you want a really super private wallet, then this is for you. Or you could approach it from the other perspective of these are two distinct user groups. So it's definitely something for you guys to think about. But I think you guys can have in the future more calls. Obviously you'll have more calls, and the calls will then decide how you as developers and Yashraj as the designer moves forward with this information. Let's go
Mhm.
into the receive flow. It says here users struggle with terminology and the concept of creating multiple addresses, plus practical issues with sharing long addresses. So let's see. Call to action, set up your first address. That terminology first is giving me a bit of a pause there. I thought that I had one address that was my identity. So we're making multiple addresses, multiple identities. I wasn't sure if the address was being remembered after pressing done. Why do you have to create a receive address? So Yashraj, could you take us to those screens, please? Okay.
um
I
yeah,
also
looks
have
like
the
Signet got it up.
phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the, I don't know if you see it, but this is the home screen
Yes.
right now. This is actually on a test phone. This is not the phone that we used when doing the usability test. So maybe the sizes are a bit off, but we changed a few things around, uh, yeah, from the Figma while testing. So this is the first receive screen.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Oh wait, this might still be outdated. Anyway, yeah, here you have to basically pick this receive address, and then it would show, yeah, bring it to this screen. So I think these might actually still be the same as the one on Figma. So maybe it's not necessary to show it on this phone, but
Mm. So how do you guys interpret this feedback that they shared in terms of they said, I thought I had one address that was my identity. Why are we making multiple addresses? I wasn't sure if the address was being remembered after pressing done. why do I have to create a receive address? So how was this
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. So one thing that we wanted to have as a feature is the ability to create kind of multiple addresses, and then you could share one on Twitter, you could share one on whatever Instagram or other like different kind of social media types. But
okay,
it's actually a little difficult to both tell that uh, story or that use case while also uh, talking about like, oh, this is an address that you can reuse, because
right,
yeah,
right.
those two things, they're not really in contradiction with each other, but they're
They're
kind of
contradict, yeah, because they walk in the front door and then you say to them, "Hey, this wallet is is unique in the sense that you have this private reusable address." And then as soon as they go to create their first receive, it's saying, "Oh, hey, now you can create different addresses." So there's that confusion
yeah.
between, but I thought I had one address, um, but now you're asking me to create multiple addresses. So that's yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
if we haven't had much time to actually go over this yet, because this is kind of a specific issue, but that is indeed something that I don't know,
yeah,
we still have to think through.
yeah, absolutely. I think again, I think this user testing allows us to step into the mind of the user. It tends to be hard to do. That is why you have the user test, right? And this is something that it's not really a contradiction what we are doing, but if the user perceives it as a contradiction, then it means that we have to improve at 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 minimum we have to improve the communication, and the communication is super important. It's like just one sentence here and there can make all the difference in how the user perceives, right? Because
Yeah.
this is, I think Christoph loves to talk about that, so do I. It's like users form a mental model of the
Yes.
application in their
Yes.
heads, and if the communication or if the application interface confuses them, or it kind of breaks the mental model that they are setting up, they will be confused, and it's up to us to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Right, right. And a simple solve of this one could actually be removing the screen that says this is a wallet about reusable private addresses. But then, adding in something here. But that's a decision for you guys to make.
Yeah,
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 very
working on
interesting.
it. Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
interesting. Um,
If I can just add something about that point in particular,
yeah,
I think that some feedbacks that we've got about that all points in the direction. Okay, maybe I'm selling the solution. I mean, I'm going straight to the answer, and that's not good. I don't know, but uh, it comforts me in the idea that we shouldn't talk about addresses, because it doesn't make, indeed it doesn't make much sense from the user perspective. Oh, you told me that I can reuse address, and address are my kind of my identity or some kind of proxies for my identity. And no, you're telling me that I can have multiple addresses. What does it mean? And it makes, suddenly, I think it's a lot clearer if we start talking about accounts and we don't even bother users with creating those accounts. For example, we pre-generate like 4 accounts, and we are telling them, okay, you can receive monies on that, like 4 different accounts, and that's up to you. You can put everything on the same on one if you want to. If you want to have more, that's okay, and then you can put labels. But that's just names that you put on things, and I think it's I really like to experiment more in that direction, because I think that's maybe an answer to that point in particular, and
yeah,
that
yeah,
indeed addresses and labels were not the right way to talk. As Yashuraj said, that wasn't the right mental model for that, and it was indeed very confusing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's I am stopping here because I don't want to jump to conclusions too fast, but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
also wanted to say that.
It's a lot of information to take in, right? Once you kind of, go through everything. because if oh, my computer's telling me to take a break. I have this thing to remind me to take a break every 20 minutes. But
Then take a break.
yeah, so yeah, that's it's good. It's a lot of insight. I say it just gives you insight, and you as developers can choose what to do with the insight, of course. Um, let's go quickly into. We only have 10 minutes, so I'm just wondering, you've got the send flow, you've got the contacts as well. Let me just look at the recommendations. I mean, AI obviously is interesting. So AI says the highest priority would be to address the confusion around terminology, address the terminology confusion around address reuse and provide clear explanations. The second priority would be to implement a proper backup flow. Now that's completely up to you guys because it's a decision in terms of who you're serving, or you could also just do it anyway because it serves both user groups anyway. Medium priority would be to address essential fees like custom fees, RBF, and max send. What are they referring to here? Custom fees, RBF? I'm not sure
Yeah,
what.
that's I think that's a typical example of like all the OGs where so when you this is during the send flow, when you receive coins, a lot of people just want to basically drain their entire wallet, so they just want to
Okay,
send all of the funds. So they
right.
all want to have this kind of max button, which is I don't know if that's like a very I assume it's not a very common thing outside of Bitcoin, but it's something that I don't know a lot of
No,
people.
no, actually, the wipe wallet function is even for if that's not an OG thing. That's just that newcomers don't know, how to most of the time how to express that. But actually, that's like a really useful feature that is not common enough in enough wallets.
You're correct. And the white wallet function, I mean, I can speak for myself. I've used it multiple times because you download a Lightning wallet, you decide to use it, and then you decide, no, this is not the Lightning wallet for me. So you want to wipe it, you want to remove all of the funds. And what then happens is that you're trying to clear the wallet of all of the funds, but they don't bring the fee into consideration. So you type in, as a user, you think, I want to clear my wallet. So you type in the exact amount that you see in your wallet. But to actually make this transaction, there's fees involved. So then you get an error message saying, cannot process error 401, 502, whatever. So then they
Yeah.
don't understand, that the
Mhm.
fee needs to
Yeah.
be incorporated. So it is a thing.
Absolutely. I would really quickly like to ask Signet or Sustin, like, which one of you guys were? Do you like guys remember how this came up in the conversation and things like that from for this particular feedback?
You mean the max button?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I think it was basically most people that had experience with a Bitcoin wallet, they were
Right.
just when they were at the send screen. I don't know if I can
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
quickly
because
show.
it sounds like experienced Bitcoiner feedback. That's number
Hmm.
one. Because regular users are never aware of this, and then all of us, I think, have run into those places where you don't know what's the amount you should enter so that the fees, like the fees and this thing totally consume the wallet balance, right? So that's the problem. I think the good part here is the good part here is that we have already identified this long back. This was one of the things that we identified as a feature that we wanted the wallet to offer, and so that's good. And also the fact that we are able to, also that we are able to, at least we think that we have figured out a way to explain it in a different way and in such a way that it will allow the user to reduce fees or to donate extras so that they can improve privacy and also pay lower fees, right? So like
Mm,
if you completely consume the UTXO and there is no change coming back to you, that's like a privacy improvement. It can also be a fee saving because the size of the transaction reduces. So you pay a lower amount, and you also you pay a lower amount in fees, and you also end up being more private, right?
Yeah.
And something like this makes sense in the case of a donation, right? So like if it's like
Mm-mm.
an invoice for a service I'm buying, that is for some fixed amount, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if I'm just like donating, and if instead of donating $100, if I donate $110, that might not be a big problem for the user if they are saving on fees and if they're improving their privacy. And so this is similar to this send all balance thing where we have a few features that we have thought of that will allow the user to do these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the participation, everyone, and for the, for the open
Yeah.
conversation as well, because we had some very good discussions, I think, around all of the feedback. And there's definitely some, as I think it was Signet who said, there maybe there doesn't need to be a decision that needs to be made, but is to just keep things as simple as possible, but to remain as transparent as possible, I think is very important. And that's I think one of the main things that most Bitcoin wallets experience in managing the simplicity on the front
Yeah.
end, but sharing enough information that people are
Hmm.
aware of their decisions when they click and proceed is also very important. But just to wrap up this call, from my end, I will obviously copy and paste all of this text into a new Proton document, and then Yashraj, you can, as the designer working with the developers, move forward with this information and together decide how you continue to improve the interface, the experience.
Absolutely, yeah. Take this feedback, incorporate some things, update things, and then
Yeah.
something that I am personally, and I think the team would agree, super duper interested in is that we take the feedback, we make improvements, and then we do user testing again
Yes.
because we have to
100%.
close the loop. Because if we don't close the loop, then we don't know like if we are in the right track or not.
100%, Yashraj. That's 100% the way to go. I'm very happy to hear that you make that suggestion. Excellent. So yeah, I mean, let's just wrap it up. How was the call for you guys, for as the developers?
Yeah, I
You
thought the feedback was quite surprising. I hadn't tried doing the AI
yes,
feedback
yes,
stuff, but it
yes,
was there were some good points in there. I didn't read all of it, but
yes,
yeah, stuff and especially also the stuff that we discussed was very nice,
yeah,
very useful.
Mm, agree, but I think it also emphasizes that even if AI saves us a lot of time, I think that's kind of normal. But if you just look at the output from the AI, that might be a bit dry, So
yes.
I think that's good, a good basis for discussions, just like we had. But that's interesting to see that there are still
What
limits to it.
what I often do as a researcher is I will read through everything. So I will actually read through all of the interviews myself, and then I keep a pen and a paper on the table next to me. And then I read it once and then I say, okay, what are my general observations? And then I make notes. And then I read through it again. Then I say, okay, what are my general observations? And I make notes. And then what I would suggest doing is then you compare that as a human to what AI has produced. And obviously there will be differences. So, if you guys would really, you can, I would suggest that as well as developers, or maybe Yashraj can do that, is just take the one where I've put everything in one document and just read through it in one go, and then take a pen and paper and just let it sort of simmer and process in your mind and see what comes out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
yeah,
also, I think something excellent that you did that I in the prompt, and I try to do it whenever I use AI. Is that uh, what you did more is that you said, hey, like code the specific test and the specific quote from
yes,
the text itself, so that now if I read something about oh, this backup thing, I should be forced to do the backup and things like that. And uh, it can be a good idea to then say, okay, this is from test number 15, so now I can go to the test and then read that test by myself and try to make sure that, oh, okay, so is this what it was saying? Because at the end of the day, the AI cannot be there to do the user testing. It's
Right.
the team that did the user testing, and that is something that the AI is not able to replicate, at least right now. And so
100%.
doing that validation and making sure that the AI output it makes sense and that it's not a hallucination or something like that, that is important.
And that's why I say use all 15 tests and give me
Yeah.
direct quotes, because then I know that
Yes.
giving me like recommendations based on actual data and it's not
Yes.
hallucinating. But yeah, good observation. So yeah, I mean, let's just wrap it up. I'm very curious to see
Yeah.
how Dana Wallet continues to improve. And yeah, please keep on working together. And Yashraj, thank you so much for supporting these developers.
I mean, this is awesome. I think we are now a very well shared team.
Hmm.
We really care about this project. I feel like we work together very well, and I think we really care about about solving these problems for the users. So that's amazing.
Amazing.
Yes. And also thank you, of course, to the Bitcoin design community for helping us.
Of course, it was
We
our pleasure. Thank you for the trust.
yes, absolutely.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
See you guys in
Mm.
the Bitcoin design community.
Yeah, see you soon.
All right.
See you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Bye bye.